They say dogs are man's best friend, but sometimes they are also the last witness to a crime. In the small, peaceful town of Maplewood, Minnesota, a tragic death uncovered an extraordinary act of loyalty. It wasn't a neighbor, friend, or family member who cracked the case. It was a golden retriever named Charlie, whose devotion led police directly to the person responsible for a cold-blooded murder. Emily Walker, a beloved schoolteacher, was found lifeless in her home under suspicious circumstances. The community was shocked, but one detail kept pulling investigators back. Her dog, Charlie, who had remained by her side through the ordeal and who would later act out in a way that pointed the investigation in a whole new direction. In this deeply emotional and suspenseful true crime story, we'll walk through the haunting final days of Emily's life, the suspicious behavior of a former lover, and the startling loyalty of a pet who refused to let evil go unpunished. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and join us at True Crime Hub, where we uncover the most gripping real-life stories of betrayal, survival, justice, and in this case, unbreakable loyalty. Maplewood wasn't the kind of place where people locked their doors. The town's tight-knit charm was its pride: Friday night football games, barbecues in backyards, and everyone knowing your name at the local diner. And if there was one person everyone trusted, it was Emily Walker, a 32-year-old schoolteacher who went above and beyond for her students. Emily was the kind of person who'd bring soup to a sick neighbor or stay after class to tutor a struggling child. Emily lived alone in a modest cottage-style home near the edge of town, but she was rarely lonely. Her constant companion was Charlie, a 5-year-old golden retriever she adopted as a puppy. The two were inseparable. Morning jogs, lazy evenings on the porch, even story time with students. Charlie was always by her side. Which is why something felt deeply wrong when Emily didn't show up to school one Monday morning. Calls went unanswered. Her colleagues thought maybe she had the flu. But by day 2, her closest friend and fellow teacher, Michelle Harper, drove to Emily's house. She knocked. No answer, but she could hear faint barking inside. She called 911. When Officer Dana Coles and her partner arrived, Emily's car was in the driveway. There were no signs of forced entry, but the dog's distressed barking was undeniable. Animal control helped breach the front door, and what officers found inside was chilling. Emily's body lay slumped on the living room couch. She looked as if she had fallen asleep, except her lips were blue, her hands cold, and her pupils dilated. Charlie sat protectively beside her, refusing to leave. There was no blood, no sign of a struggle. But Charlie was pacing nervously now, tail low, ears twitching. Something had happened, and he knew it. An autopsy later confirmed that Emily had been poisoned. A fast-acting sedative, commonly used in veterinary clinics, had shut down her system. Toxicology reports confirmed the presence of an animal tranquilizer called xylazine. Detectives were baffled. Emily had no known enemies. She was well-loved and cautious. No one had seen anything strange that weekend. Her phone and laptop were missing, but her wallet and keys were untouched. Investigators found no sign of a break-in, no fingerprints out of place. But something wasn't sitting right. Michelle told police that Emily had mentioned feeling watched recently, that she thought someone might be sneaking around her property. She hadn't wanted to overreact. Probably just squirrels, she joked. Then another detail emerged. Emily had recently broken things off with her boyfriend, Nathan Briggs. The relationship had turned sour after only 5 months. Nathan, she said, had a temper. He was possessive, and when they broke up, he didn't take it well. Detectives paid him a visit. Nathan Briggs, a 35-year-old freelance graphic designer, lived just a few blocks from Emily. When questioned, he appeared cooperative, insisting he hadn't seen Emily in weeks. "We ended things mutually," he claimed. "I've moved on." But when detectives asked where he was the weekend of Emily's death, his story grew thin. He said he'd gone camping alone but had no photos, no receipts, and no one to corroborate his whereabouts. Police found this odd, but without direct evidence linking him to Emily's death, they couldn't hold him. Enter Charlie. Charlie had been staying at the local animal shelter since the discovery of Emily's body. Shelter workers noted his odd behavior. He didn't bark much, didn't eat unless coaxed, and flinched at sudden noises. But what stood out the most was how he reacted when Officer Melinda Parks came to check on him. Parks had been one of the first responders to Emily's scene. As she approached the kennel, Charlie stiffened. He didn't growl, but his eyes narrowed, ears pointed forward, and he began to emit a low, cautious whine. This reaction caught her attention. She decided to test a theory. Taking Charlie on a routine walk, Parks passed by several locations connected to Emily's life, school, a friend's house, the grocery store. No reaction. But when they walked past Nathan Briggs's residence, Charlie stopped dead. He refused to move forward. His fur stood on end, and he let out a guttural, unfamiliar growl. Officer Parks returned the next day and repeated the same route. Again, Charlie had no reaction, until they reached Nathan's place. This time, he pulled back and barked, something he hadn't done since the incident. The behavior was reported to lead investigators. Charlie's repeated reaction to Nathan Briggs' house couldn't be dismissed as coincidence. Police brought in an animal behaviorist to assess his responses under controlled conditions. The results were startling. When Charlie was introduced to individuals he had no prior contact with, his behavior was neutral. Calm, even curious. But the moment Nathan's scent, taken from an article of clothing, was introduced into the room, Charlie's behavior shifted dramatically. Growling, raised hackles, and retreat. To law enforcement, this wasn't hard evidence, but it was a sign. They began reviewing Nathan's digital history, phone records, emails, and any connection to Emily post-breakup. What they found was unsettling. Despite claiming to have moved on, Nathan had visited Emily's neighborhood 7 times in the 3 weeks leading to her death. His vehicle had been picked up by neighborhood cameras multiple times during the early morning hours. He hadn't stopped by for a friendly chat. He had been stalking her. The surveillance footage painted a haunting image. A dark sedan slowly creeping down Emily's street, headlights off. One image showed a man, matching Nathan's description, walking down the side of Emily's home, near a broken privacy light. The next breakthrough came when forensic experts located a second phone in a pawn shop across town. It was Emily's. It had been sold 2 days after her death, wiped clean, but still containing recoverable metadata. The device had been reset using a recovery code sent from an IP address traced back to Nathan's house. The same IP address had also attempted multiple logins to Emily's cloud storage account, where her private journals, emails, and photos were stored. Experts were able to retrieve fragments of deleted messages. They painted a heartbreaking story of emotional abuse, threats, and fear. Emily had been planning to report Nathan for stalking but hadn't yet filed a report. One draft message read, "He won't let go. He's always outside, watching." This was the tipping point. With a court order, investigators searched Nathan's property, and they hit pay dirt. Inside a locked shed in Nathan's backyard, investigators discovered a chilling array of items. A brown hoodie matching the figure in the surveillance image, latex gloves, empty syringes, and a small bottle labeled Unmasked. A veterinary sedative containing xylazine, the exact substance found in Emily's system. The most damning evidence was a flash drive hidden beneath a floorboard. On it were files Nathan had secretly recorded, audio clips of Emily's phone calls, text screenshots, photos taken through her windows. Obsessive, methodical, dangerous. Charlie's instincts had been right all along. The killer had been circling. Nathan was arrested. Nathan denied everything. Claimed the drugs were for anxiety. The surveillance? Paranoia, he said. The drive? Planted. But the evidence was damning, and police played the most emotional piece of all, a security camera clip from a neighbor across the street. The footage, taken the night of Emily's death, showed a man entering Emily's home through the back sliding door. Moments later, Charlie could be seen barking and lunging toward the figure before being pulled away. For a moment, Nathan froze. Then, he broke. "I didn't mean to kill her," he mumbled. "I just wanted to make her listen." According to Nathan, the breakup had left him broken. He couldn't accept that Emily had cut off all contact. He watched her from afar, convinced she was seeing someone new. That night, he used a spare key he had copied without her knowledge. He entered her home and confronted her. She told him to leave, threatened to call the police. He panicked, used a syringe filled with sedative to calm her down. She collapsed almost immediately. He never called 911. During Nathan's confession, he recalled Charlie attacking him during the encounter. He said the dog bit his arm, hard, but he pushed him off and locked him in the bathroom while he cleaned up. That bite mark proved crucial. Police photographed a half-healed scar on Nathan's left arm. Charlie's bite radius and jaw pressure were tested against a mold. It was a perfect match. The animal who had once snuggled beside his owner had tried to save her, had tried to stop the man who killed her, and then led the world to the truth. Nathan's trial was emotional and explosive. Prosecutors painted a picture of obsession turned lethal. The defense tried to argue diminished capacity, claiming Nathan was mentally unstable. But the jury couldn't ignore the digital trail, the confession, and the devotion of a dog who never gave up. Charlie even made a brief appearance in the courtroom, sitting beside Emily's sister during closing statements. His presence silenced the room. After 2 days of deliberation, the verdict came: guilty of first-degree murder, stalking, unlawful surveillance, and animal cruelty. Nathan Briggs was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Emily's sister, Rachel Walker, adopted Charlie permanently. In interviews, she said, "He saved her. He tried to save her that night, and then he never stopped trying." Charlie became a local hero. His story was shared across national media. A statue was commissioned and placed in front of Maplewood Elementary, a bronze Emily seated on a bench, and Charlie at her feet, eyes alert. The town healed slowly, but the lesson remained: trust your instincts, and never underestimate loyalty. Charlie's story continues to inspire. He's now a certified therapy dog, visiting schools and hospitals with Rachel. Children who read to him often ask, "Is it true he solved a mystery?" And she answers honestly, he didn't just solve it. He refused to let the world forget. True crime stories often end with cold facts, unanswered questions, and heartbreaking silence. But not this one. This one ends with a hero. With fur. Subscribe to True Crime Hub for more stories where justice doesn't just knock, it barks.